To the Turn On Your Inner Light show. It's time to stop just surviving, and it's time to begin to thrive. It's time to live happier and healthier. Turn stress into strength. Noted author Debbie Mandel will show you how to move beyond personal doubts and fears and into positive perception to turn on your inner light. Here's your host, Debbie Mandel.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to my show. Our guest expert is Andrea Donsky, co-founder of NaturallySavvy.com and co-author of Unjunk Your Junk Food. You can have your cake and eat a healthier version, too. Welcome, Andrea.
Hi, Debbie. Thank you for having me.
Now, I loved your book. It was a visual delight and crammed full of information and sidebars. I mean, I could read this several times, and I felt it was good for people of all ages, which doesn't mean that it's good for a generic way, but I would even consider sending this with my college daughter, off to school to get people started early. Now, what's the first thing I need to look at when I'm looking at a label?
Oh, the ingredients. That is the most important thing. What we found through our research is that most people pick a product up off the shelf and they read the nutrition facts panel. And in doing our research, after finding out, sifting through so many different products, that the ingredients are the most important thing. They're the key, because if you're reading foods that don't have good ingredients in it, or ingredients that can cause potential harm to our body, then you really don't want to eat that food, no matter what the nutrition facts panel says, right?
Yeah, so you don't want me, sometimes I'll just skip to, okay, what's the total fat or cholesterol, or look at the sodium content. You're saying, I really should pay attention if there are multi-syllabic words that I can't pronounce.
Exactly. And you know what, it's also, in the book we provide a chart. It's called the Worst Ingredients Chart, where we talk about our savvy alerts. So those are the ingredients we really want to focus on when buying a product, especially when it comes to junk food, and really any type of food in particular. So it doesn't only have to be junk food. And even if it has multi-syllabic words, you're right. We want to avoid anything that doesn't sound right, or we don't understand the meaning of it, or that it sounds like it can be a potential chemical. And then you can take this chart with you to the store when you're shopping, and you can refer to it, because we give you a glossary, we explain, what each word means, and then we tell you which ingredients to avoid, which are the worst, the red flag ingredients, but also which are the yellow ones that aren't as bad, but really, if you don't have to buy it, put it back on the shelf.
Now, what I found interesting about the book is that I'm getting the feeling that if I'm going for more natural ingredients, like picking sugar and real fat over lab-created sugars and fats, will I do better weight-wise? That's what I'm thinking. I think that artificial sugars create a craving in people, like I'm never satiated. Does that make sense to you?
It absolutely makes sense, because the chemicals trick our brains into thinking either we want more or that we're not satisfied. Anytime you have the choice between the real thing and a chemical, we're such advocates for going for the real thing. So even though junk food has sugar, we're like, okay, eat the real thing because it'll satisfy our sweet tooth, and you probably won't want to eat as much of it because you're actually getting the real food, so your brain isn't being tricked, and you probably won't want to eat as much of it because you're being satisfied. So it's kind of like a catch-22, which is in a good way.
And that could help me start the new year with a reasonable meal plan. I don't like diet because it smacks of deprivation. And I want to find a way that I can find the balance between my curves and what I eat. So if I have a good fast, then isn't that slowing the absorption of the sugar into my body, the real thing? So I'm coming off as a winner.
You are, and the best thing to do, too, is if you're going to eat a good fat, so, when you talk about good fats, we talk about monosaturated fats, we talk about the omega-3s, those are all really good fats. If you're going to eat something that has fat in it, and if you want to, be careful in terms of, our waistlines, you can always couple it with some protein, because that in itself, the protein and the fat together, will help slow down the metabolism, and then it won't affect our blood sugar. Because what we really want to be careful of is eating, carbohydrates on their own. And when we eat them on our own, that's what affects our blood sugar. Our blood sugar spikes, and then it drops. So if we can keep our blood sugar even, that's the key to maintaining good weight, not, maintaining good moods, because, when our blood sugar's all over the place, we get cranky, we get moody, so that's really the key. So to what you're saying, Debbie, yes, it's just really to watch, eat the better fats and eat the better type of food.
Let me ask you the basic premise for the book. Why do we eat junk food in the first place?
We all do. Do you know that 96% of us do? Everybody likes, most of us, I guess there's 4% of us who don't, but most of us like some type of sweet. We crave it, whether, it could be what we're eating. A lot of us eat a lot of carbohydrate-heavy foods. We don't eat a balanced diet. We eat a lot of sugars in our diet, which makes us crave more sugar. So there's lots of reasons why we crave it. So what we wanted to do was talk to all of us out there and be realistic, because even we crave it. We're health experts, but at the same time, we still crave something sweet, and our kids crave it. Our kids eat it, our husbands eat it. So no matter what that reason is, we wanted to come out with a book that we can tell people, if you're going to crave it, then at least eat a healthier option, because there really are healthier options out there without MSG, without food coloring and preservatives and artificial sweeteners and, things like that.
I was shocked when I was reading your book, because I guess I don't eat Doritos anymore, but there's MSG in Doritos. I used to think, MSG, Chinese food, or MSG in sometimes a steakhouse. They want the meat. I'm not a great cook, but I think that's what people do to make the meat better. But Doritos, wow.
Yeah, well, MSG is a flavor enhancer. So what they do is, you're right, we call it the Chinese food syndrome. So they're notorious for using it. But yes, they're used in most flavored chips we came across. And the side effects of MSG are astounding. They can cause anything from headaches to chest pains to blurred vision, fatigue. I mean, the list goes on and on as to what the effects of MSG are. And, mostly a lot of teenagers eat Doritos, and a lot of us adults like Doritos. So, we wanted to find a chip that tastes really similar to Doritos but doesn't have the MSG in it. And we came across a couple that actually tasted great, but you don't have the same. And everyone reacts differently to MSG too, right? So some people might react really, really badly to the tiniest amount of it. Other people may not react at all, but for the most part, putting MSG in our bodies, the long-term effects are just not worth it.
So you got my interest, so what would be a good substitute for Doritos?
Okay, so there are some...
I'm getting the signal to go to commercial break.
No problem.
And we'll hold this mystery thought. And we will return with Andrea Donsky, author of Unjunk Your Junk Food.
Now you can take Debbie Mandel home with you. Her book, Turn On Your Inner Life, Fitness for Body, Mind, and Soul, will help you decompress with healthy, positive, concrete solutions. Common life challenges are presented so that you can quickly find the help you need. Emotional tips, original meditations, and a fun and easy-to-follow fitness workout for each mindset. This revolutionary new method will help you rewire mind and body to take back your power. Get it on Amazon.
Are you overwhelmed with the burden of taking care of children, parents, or both? Are you taking care of everyone else except yourself? It's time to change your habits and re-energize. Debbie Mandel gives you an innovative and easy-to-follow program for good health and happiness. In her magical new book, Changing Habits, The Caregiver's Total Workout, Debbie Mandel shows you step-by-step how to find the optimal balance between giving and receiving, and guides you to exercise and eat right to take care of yourself. What are you waiting for? Read Changing Habits and start training for your life. Life does not need to be a burden. Get Changing Habits, The Caregiver's Total Workout on Amazon.
You're listening to the Turn On Your Inner Light show. I'm your host, Debbie Mandel, and I'm speaking with Andrea Donsky, co-founder of NaturallySavvy.com and author of Unjunk Your Junk Food. Okay, Andrea, we're going to hear the mystery alternative to Doritos.
Well, them that we found, one of them is by a company called Garden of Eden, and it's their organic nacho cheese tortilla chips. And the other one is the Kettle brand Tia, nacho cheddar tortilla chips. So both of those don't have any MSG, they don't have any trans fats, artificial flavors, or colors, and they're a lot cleaner, and they taste just as great.
Are they in supermarkets? I'm not familiar with the brands. Are they hard to get? Do we have to order things like that online?
That's a great question. A lot of the products that, these in particular I'm not, 100% sure of, but a lot of the products that are in our book are available at supermarkets that you can find anywhere. A lot of them are available at specialty stores like Whole Foods, or Trader Joe's is another really good one. Or you can buy it online. So, for example, we provided a Shop the Book link on our website at naturallysavvy.com under our book section. And if you click on the Shop the Book, we provide links to different places where they can purchase the products.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, so we give people the option. Now, the other thing, too, is that, for example, the book isn't only for people so we can recommend the specific brand. We really want to empower people. So the message is we want to empower people that when they're shopping, to look and read the ingredients. So it's not necessarily to buy the brand we recommend, but they could be at their, in their supermarket looking on the shelf for a product, picking up a product, reading the ingredients, and they might find another product that is really nice and clean that they can try and use as well. So it's just really giving them that empowerment of a great shopping tool to be able to make the right decisions when they're in the store at the shelf buying it.
And again, as you stated earlier, the first thing is look at the ingredients, become savvy as to what's in there. Now, I know you made a list for us as to what ingredients, like a hate list. Yes. Could you give us a few hated ingredients?
Sure. So we call it our savvy alerts or our red flagged ingredients. And the ones we really, really strictly ask people to avoid is artificial sweeteners like, sulfame potassium or ACE-K or aspartame or Splenda. Those are big ones, and they're found in everything from cookies to chips to, they're found in everything, and it runs the gamut, really. We ask people to stay away from artificial colors. There's been so much implication in artificial colors, affecting children or worsening behavioral problems for children who have ADD or ADHD. So that's a really big one that we ask people to avoid food coloring. Artificial flavors as much as possible. Trans fats, another really big one that's hidden in anything that's termed partially hydrogenated. So if you're looking at a label and you see something that says it's partially hydrogenated, put it back because they contain trans fats. And then high fructose corn syrup, that's another really big one that's found in so many products, sodas and cookies and candy. It's everywhere. So those would be the really big ones. And, and nitrates and preservatives. There are other ones as well, BHT that you could find, and it's all on our worst ingredients chart. So, it's in the book, and there's also one that you can download on our website as well, that you can put in your wallet and bring with you when you're shopping.
Yes, I think that's a great idea because this way you become habituated, and they just pop into your head, and you could look at the alternative. Now, some people will tell you, well, Splenda is organic and it's okay. And I know doctors who use Splenda. What's the deal with it?
Just at Naturally Savvy, we're just not big fans of any type of chemical sweetener. So, we believe in using the more natural varieties like stevia or agave or honey. Again, going back to your point before, Debbie, what you said is just really using the real thing. So we're just not big fans. There's been a lot of complaints about artificial sweeteners that people have, complained from headaches to neurological symptoms over a long-term period of use. So it's just, we're not big fans. There's been a lot of complaints. I think it was the most biggest complaint to the FDA. Aspartame has the most complaints about people with side effects to it. So we just say stay away from anything that's artificially or chemically made and try and go for the real thing.
I like the way you point that out because many of us know when we hear something that sounds true and it resonates for us, we should do that. And our Back to Nature movement, whether it's being more natural in terms of a balanced lifestyle, unplugging occasionally, and I think eating more wholesome, because there are a lot of unexplained syndromes like chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. And how do we know that many of our migraines, as you say, might not be triggered by these artificial ingredients? But doctors aren't going to do sophisticated lab tests on you.
They're not. And, a lot of the times, like, I mean, obviously doctors are fantastic at what they do.
Some
but
of
they're not
them.
well, yeah, I mean, they're not necessarily trained in, let's say, nutrition or food allergies or anything that someone might be sensitive to or allergic to, for that matter. So, that's a really good point. So let's say, for example, that you and it's funny because we ask people to write things down. We're like, okay, so have you been complaining about stomachache or headaches lately? Okay, great. Keep a food journal. Every time you write for a couple of weeks, every time you eat something, write it down. And if you see the symptom appear within half an hour, 24 hours, whatever it is, take note of it. And then at the end of it, go back and look to see if there's any correlation between what you've been eating and the actual symptoms you've been feeling. And a lot of the times people will notice that there has been that correlation. Now, if you're allergic or sensitive to something, it doesn't mean that it will show up right away. Sometimes you'll break out in hives and it will show up immediately or with a stomachache. Sometimes it can take 24 hours for it to show up or longer. So it's really just being in tune with your body and listening to your body. So much, a lot of us, we're not used to listening to our body. We're so used to just kind of going on autopilot. But if we actually sit down and say, okay, my stomach is hurting me right now. I just ate such and such for, in the last hour. Maybe there's, some type of connection. And just becoming aware. And, that happened to me. I was eating gluten. I actually stay away from gluten and dairy now because every time I would have lunch, an hour later, without fail, my head would start to feel really cloudy. And I'd get a stomachache. And I'd be like, I don't understand why this is happening. And I kept my food journal, and lo and behold, I figured out that the bread I was eating for lunch was actually causing me to not really feel good after. And once I cut out the gluten from my diet and the dairy, I am a new person.
That applies to a lot of people. I'm so glad you brought that up. I want to continue this discussion because it's very relevant about being mindful about your food intake and the ingredients. But we go to commercial break. And we will return with Andrea Donsky of Unjunk Your Junk Food.
Dear listeners, I'm excited to tell you about my new book, Addicted to Stress. This is the message you need to hear. Are you addicted to stress? Do you do it all while everyone depends on you? Where's all this pressure coming from? It is coming from inside you. This is why my publisher, John Wiley, asked me to write Addicted to Stress, a woman's 7-step program to reclaim joy and spontaneity in life. This fun-to-read book teaches proven strategies to reclaim your life, silence your inner critic, build a healthy body, and reframe your thoughts to change your life for the better. Dare to be happy without the guilt. Addicted to Stress is easy to get. It's available at Barnes & Noble and other fine bookstores everywhere. You can also buy it at Amazon and other online retailers.
We're back with Andrea Donsky of Unjunk Your Junk Food. You know what I call your book, Andrea? A nutrient-dense book.
Oh.
And I want to add to what you were saying about getting a stomachache after eating bread or dairy products like lactose intolerant. Some people feel weak and dizzy. I feel like that after I have the slightest bit of MSG. Mm-hmm. And even if someone prepared it for me, I will know right away. I'll get a chemical taste in my mouth, and I'll feel dizzy as though I can't breathe, like blood is drained from my head. So I think this is a wonderful way to establish that correlation. And you're right, we do override ourselves. We jolt ourselves with caffeine and sugars to get through the day. And what you're telling us is, in order for the new year to resolve to be better, is to eat healthier and make these wise choices. Now, I like what you put in the book, after a night of indulging, and many of us are indulging over the holidays, how do I get my digestive system back on track? I thought that was remarkable.
Well, we say wake up the next morning, have a warm glass of water, and squeeze a half a lemon into it.
So it's cleansing.
Yeah, it cleanses and it gets, the digestive system moving, and it kind of cleans you up from the night before. So it's a really great way, of just jump-starting and kick-starting our immune system.
And if I indulged a lot, should I have two?
Have a whole lemon. Yeah, obviously if you're going to indulge the night before, the next day is always great to, just eat a little bit healthier or, make a concerted effort to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables the next day. But, there is no really magic trick to kind of get rid of the night before, but there are different tools that can help you. And it's all about elimination, right? So as long as our bowels are moving and we're constantly removing what we're taking in, that's really the key to optimal health, because 70% of our immune system really starts in our gut. And so if we're taking, you're getting it started in the morning by going to the bathroom, taking probiotics is another really great way to keep your immune system healthy and keeping you, regular, so to speak.
Especially if we take antibiotics, we should always pay attention to that, and many of us perhaps have killed off the good bacteria. So that's really a wise thing to do to get the toxins out. I thought another cute thing that you wrote about, just to give our listeners a feel, how do we prevent brain freeze? We all
put your tongue to the roof of your mouth and warm it up.
Because my kids get brain freeze, and they all say to me, "Oh, brain freeze, when they eat ice cream." And I thought, wow, you have just about everything in this book too. And you tackled also the cravings, like why do we crave salt? Why so much sodium, right?
Yeah, well, that's a really, I have to say, and I say this all the time, one of my favorite parts of writing this book is it's every chapter, and we go through, the 8 different chapters, like cookies and candy and chocolate, like the main junk food chapters. And at the beginning of every chapter, there's always a 2-page spread, and on those 2 pages, one of the sections is reasons you might be craving that particular snack. And that is really my favorite part of the book, because a lot of us just eat blindly and we don't really realize why we're eating, but there could be some underlying condition as to why you're eating a particular type of product. So, for example, salty snacks, if you're craving salt, it could be your adrenals are fatigued. And many of us have fatigued adrenals. I mean, we're stressed, right? Especially now, the holidays, New Year, we want to do better. The first place, that kind of could go is our adrenal glands. So these are some things we can look at that it just makes people become more aware, again, of their bodies and listening to their bodies, and all having fun while eating junk food, right, and talking about junk food.
Well, our time together has flown by, and thank you for your nutrient-dense book. I like that phrase. Unjunk Your Junk Food.
Thank you.
And Happy New Year.
Thanks. You too. You too. Thank you so much.
Affirmation of the week. Stand in your power, and you will achieve your goal. And now for the latest medical trends. People with diets high in several vitamins or in omega-3 fatty acids are less likely to have the brain shrinkage associated with Alzheimer's disease than people whose diets are not high in those nutrients. This is according to a study from the Medical Journal of the American Academy of Neurology. The quality of the emotional relationship between a mother and her young child could affect the potential for that child to be obese during adolescence. This is a new study from Ohio University. And I guess that what that means is don't have your children crave your love and attention. Give it to them, and then they won't need to overeat. While medical emergencies occur throughout the year, the winter season and its related overindulgence is a pivotal time for preventing emergencies, particularly heart attacks, which spike during the winter. And so, listen to your body and don't overstress it or fatigue it. Statins, traditionally known as cholesterol-lowering drugs, may reduce mortality among patients hospitalized with the flu, according to a new study released by the Journal of Infectious Diseases. And young women who receive the recommended vaccinations to prevent HPV infection and associated cancers with HPV do not engage in more sexually risky behavior, according to a study in the American Journal of Preventative Medicine. So if you've been hesitant because of that, there's no foundation for it. Teenage girls who feel depressed are twice as likely to start binge eating as other girls are, according to a new study in the Journal of Adolescent Health. The reverse is also true. Girls who engage in regular binge eating face double the normal risk of depressive symptoms. With the share of married adults at an all-time low in the U.S., new researchers by demographers at Cornell University and the University of Central Oklahoma unveiled clues why couples don't get married. And here it is. They fear divorce. And divorce is quite costly emotionally and physically. And eat colorful potatoes if you want to lower your blood pressure, according to Consumer Health. We come to the close of another show. I have an educational website, totally free, TurnOnYourInnerLight.com, where all the radio shows with the guest experts are archived for your listening pleasure. Subscribe to my free newsletter at TurnOnYourInnerLight.com, and here's what you'll get. The latest interview with the guest expert, a fresh new stress management article, and all the health tips fully delineated, emailed directly to you. From TurnOnYourInnerLight.com. Have a wonderful week and see you on the radio.